So, good evening. My name is Britt Rusert. I teach in the W.E.B. Du Bois Department of Afro-American Studies at UMass Amherst, where I study and write about slavery, abolition, and other freedom movements in the 19th century U.S. I'm also the executive editor of the Massachusetts Review. I'm really thrilled to welcome you to this celebration of our 2025 special issue, Incarceration and Family, which will be published in just a few days. We're lucky to have our guest editors here, Nicole Shawan Jr. and Caits Meissner, who will be emceeing tonight and will also be introducing you to our readers. I did want to just take a moment to thank both Caits and Nicole for all of their work, for their vision, for their editorial labor, and for all of the love and care that they poured into this issue. And your like passion and commitment, love, care, it was like really clear this entire process. Um, I will say that this is truly a powerhouse of an issue. I'm really excited that we will be able to share it with our contributors, with their families, and with the whole world very soon. And on a personal note, I'll say that I feel really proud that we were able to put out such a special issue during my first year with the Mass Review. I want to thank our editorial board for their work on this issue. We also always owe so much thanks to our outstanding staff, including Emily Wojcik, G. Ziegel, and especially Eddie Clifford, our managing editor, who was the main point person for our contributors and who also organized this event. So thank you all. And finally, we want to thank all of our contributors to this issue. We literally could not have done this without you. And we know how much it took for many of you to submit to us, to communicate with us, to work on edits with us, and to speak truth to power within, beyond, and after prison walls. I'll just say personally, working individually with writers on edits and on their pieces and going through this process and working with writers on the inside, it has felt like a life-changing experience and has really affirmed for me like the power of art and literature to truly transform the world. We also want to extend a heartfelt thanks to all of the family members, friends, and other helpers who worked tirelessly to facilitate communication, to pass along edits, and helped in a million other ways to make this issue a reality. This was like such a collective effort in so many different ways. So we're hoping that you'll consider supporting our writers and our work by purchasing a copy of the issue. It's the holiday season, so maybe you could purchase two or three or even four or five. We're going to drop a link in the chat where you can put in a pre-order. And this giving season, we're also hoping you'll consider supporting the work that we do at the Mass Review, which includes the annual publication of special issues like this one. And you can do so by buying one issue, by subscribing to the magazine, or by making a donation. And we'll put that link in the chat as well. We are also going to include links to a few different organizations that are doing important work supporting incarcerated and formerly incarcerated folks, mostly in the world and in the arts. And finally, I did want to mention, I know none of us have the issue yet, but when you see it, I hope you'll turn to the back and look at the notes on contributors, because many of our contributors included information about where you can find more of their work and also how you can connect with them. And we know that prisons and the prison system works to isolate folks from those on the outside. So I would really encourage you to seek out these writers, seek out and support their work as well. So I'm going to just introduce our guest editors, and then I'm going to turn it over to them. So Caits Meissner is a writer, multidisciplinary artist, and editor whose work spans poetry, nonfiction, comics, and curation. She is the editor of The Sentences That Create Us, Crafting a Writer's Life in Prison, an incredible anthology featuring over 50 justice-involved writers, distributed. Oh, I'm sorry. I I mess okay. I had a mess up there with my page break. I will just say that collection, the sentences that create us, crafting a writer's life in prison, is an absolute incredible collection that I would encourage you to seek out. Her writing has appeared in The Guardian, in Harper's Bazaar, The Rumpus, Literary Hub, The Creative Independent, Oprah Daily, and more. Her current projects include Aunt Cakes, a pop rap perpetually menstruating clown. You can check out on Instagram, I think. Judy Doom, a zine-shaped graphic novel and all-woman rock album. And Flowers for Linda, a podcast on grief and creativity. Our other guest editor, Nicole Shawan Jr., is a creative nonfiction and speculative fiction literary artist. Junior's writing is anthologized in Edge of the World, an anthology of queer travel writing, and in The Sentences That Create Us, crafting a writer's life in prison. Junior's essays have been published in many different platforms and venues. Their writing is Best of the Net nominated and a Long Reads Top 5 of the Week recipient. Junior is working on two book projects, her speculative fiction novel, Ire and the Girl, Slice, and a memoir titled Cracked Concrete, a memoir of crackheads, cousins, and crime. Junior has received many writing residencies and fellowships, too many to name here. They are also the former editor-in-chief of Black Femme Collective and served on the editorial team at Women's Studies Quarterly of the Feminist Press, Slice Magazine, and Raising Mothers, where they also curated a limited column penned by and for justice-involved Black women. Born and bred in Brooklyn, Junior lives in Philly with her children and feline familiars. So I am really looking forward to hearing the readings tonight, and I will turn things over to Caits and Nicole.
Yay. Thanks so much, Britt. What a beautiful opening of many thanks, of which I echo. It was really special to work on this issue. And I'd really like to ask my friend, Nicole, hearing your bio, I'm so proud to be your friend. I'd love to invite you, Nicole, to kick us off in the conversation because you brought this idea to me. So I want to hear a little bit about where this topic came up for you, and I really loved and fully 100% went with your framing on it. So yeah, tell us about it.
First of all, I'd love to thank Britt and the editors at the Massachusetts Review. This is my second time serving as a guest editor with the Massachusetts Review, and I'm just thankful for the opportunity to help spotlight these voices. This this project, this special issue, was presented to me in either late 2023 or early 2024. I cannot remember, but it's been a long road, everyone, by Genzo Duque. So shout out to Genzo, who hit me up and asked me to be a guest editor in this special issue. Since then, Genzo stepped away from the project to do other things. But when, Britt and the team asked, well, do you know anyone that we should bring on? I thought about Caits. Caits has been a comrade in this work for an exceptionally long amount of time. Caits and I have worked on projects before, and I thought that Caits would be a good editorial addition to this project. So I'm glad that you said yes, Caits. The way this project was communicated to me was it would be an extension of the conversation that documentary titled Time had begun. It would be an honest review, an honest, surveying, if you will, of the ways in which families are fractured, created, alienated, the ways that they find connection, both between individuals who are behind the wall and outside the walls, as well as between individuals who are solely within or behind the walls. And so that really intrigued me, growing up as a child of the crack epidemic. So many of my cousins and loved ones have been farmed in and out of the prison industrial complex due to like crack inspired or poverty inspired crimes related to crack cocaine. And so I've been on the family side of trying to maintain contact and connection with with my loved ones. And so that was really something that was near and dear to me. I hadn't seen it done, not in a way that focused on families ever before. And I thought that that was necessary, right? I wanted to hear the voices of families, however, right? Chosen family, blood family. I wanted to hear the voices of those of families impacted by incarceration. So that's what called me to this project, and which kept me on board for all of this time. And so, Caits, yeah, when I extended that invitation to you, I think you quickly said, "Yeah, I'm down." So I would love to know, what inspired you to be so quick to jump on board and what you thought about this editorial process.
Yeah, thanks, Nicole. Well, first of all, I said yes because I already know I love working with you, so that was easy. We've written together, we've edited each other's work, so I knew we had a good creative rapport. But of course, moreover, was the fact that I've had a lot of access to these stories, strangely, as an outsider, somebody who's not had family incarcerated growing up. I happened myself through my career into working with writers in prison, and then it just kept growing in my life to where I had this exceptional moment in time where I had access to all of these brilliant folks inside. And through my work in visiting over 50 prisons across America, I have been the receiver or the witness of many, many stories about family. And I know how important they are. So I thought I had people that we could invite into the issue, and I thought I have a sense of a broad landscape that I've been in the strange and sometimes beautiful and sometimes terrible position to interact with and witness. And I really loved the emphasis on family, particularly because recently I became an aunt, a very proud aunt. So I was already in this mindset of really thinking about what creates family as a woman without children of my own, and now having these young people in my life so close. So all of that was spinning, and I thought, I'm interested in the topic of family right now, just period. So all those threads. And the editorial process I thought was really fantastic and interesting. We got so many amazing pieces. And for me, what was the real challenge was not, there's so many important, strong stories, but was how do we represent a breadth of experience? A mother's experience, a son's experience, a cousin's experience, a child's perspective, a grandmother's perspective. I mean, how do the chosen family, even when we were looking at our artist, Alvin Smith, whose work we both were like gobsmacked by, looking at the story that this picture tells that's not just prison, but also images of back home. So I thought it was difficult to do and also beautiful to do in thinking about how to best create a full picture out of what we had. How about you? How did you feel about it?
That's spot on. We had so many submissions for this special issue. And it took us a really long time to get through all of the submissions. I mean, every single last one, both Caits and I read, every single last, I mean, there was no slush pile, in other words, right? We weren't just saying, oh, these are going, I'm reading one paragraph and I'm tossing, nah, we read every single last word of every single last submission. And then after doing that, came together to discuss every single last submission. I mean, this was, a long process. And yes, difficult. It was extremely challenging, not only for time, but also obviously the things that were being discussed, the personal experiences that folks were sharing through their nonfiction, through their fiction and poetry as well. But it was beautiful because I felt like, number one, the call got out, which I was worried about, right? And number two, folks were willing to lay it bare, as Baldwin has said, to tell the truth and then a little bit more. You know what I mean? And so it made it extremely difficult, I think, to say no to many of the folks who submitted because if it were up to Caits and I, the issue would have been twice as long. But listen, that was impossible. It just couldn't happen. There are page limits. So yeah, that was extremely difficult, but it was beautiful also to get the diverse array of narratives addressing the issue. And I'd also like to say this. I didn't anticipate developing such a deep connection to the pieces that I personally edited. I had no idea that that would happen. And so for me, working with folks like Diane Herring, working with Lola Carino, working with Lindsay Reckon, in order to communicate with our contributors who were behind the walls, was special, particularly because I felt such a connection to the contributor, to the author, and I couldn't speak to them. I felt the connection because of the page. And so I didn't expect for that to happen. In the way that it did. And it also happened, obviously, with the contributors who aren't behind walls, So with the folks I worked with, specifically Jody Savage, Cherie L. Greer, Eric Boyd. These pieces are tender, they're personal, they are honest. And so I'm really proud of them. And I feel changed by them. How about you, Caits? Did you expect to have those connections?
I did because I've edited a lot of writing before coming out of the space, and I understand how intimate that process can be, despite distance and space and barriers. I was also really proud to work with a supportive editorial team that let us come in and read some essays from people that were incarcerated to give a sense of sort of what the landscape that people are writing in is more deeply than maybe you or I could even explain, right? Get it from the source. And the editorial team was so supportive and really wanting to facilitate those connections and being ethical about it, which just made the process even have that much more depth and resonance. So yes, I think I always expect to kind of fall in love with the writer, especially when it's a really vulnerable topic. And I will also say what I think was really amazing about this particular process is having a few writers say, this is my first publication, or this is the first time I've published writing about this in my family. And to me, that feels very emotional and like a huge door opening, because at this point, like you said, and I think we probably should move to the reading soon because we could talk for days about this, but the idea of this could be a tome, it could be twice the size, it could be the size of, a city block, because there are so many people touched by incarceration. And I often have come to the way I describe it now, or what I say about it is, it's just another American story. So many people have been touched and affected, and yet there's still such a stigma. So I also commend all our writers and give deep thanks for doing that brave work that allows the next person to share their story and maybe get published in a literary journal or otherwise. So what a gift. I was in a prison recently, and somebody asked me a great question. They said, what is spiritual to you? And I sort of was like, this is spiritual, getting to hold tender stories, getting to bear witness, getting to be in conversation, getting to break down barriers as humans, to be in a third equal plane that we've created that exists outside of all the structure, in the ether, but it's still real. So that's where I think I'll leave my commentary at. I could say so much more. And I realize I don't have bios for people. So we're just going to do intros with maybe a little note or two. So these people are all amazing. Get the issue and read their bio in the back. Nicole, is there anything you'd like to say before I introduce our first reader? And thank you. Thank you. It was a beautiful process for me and you as well, I felt. It was really special. Okay, well, our first reader was a new writer to me that I'd heard a lot about. And when I read her piece, well, all of us were like, yes, this is an instant yes. So I'm really excited to get to meet this author tonight and hear your voice and hear your words from your personhood. If everybody could just maybe do a little energetic rubbing of their hands or something to welcome Patty Prewitt to the screen.
Thank you all so much. I'm so honored to be included with this. I wrote this piece last year when I was still inside. I was locked up 38 and a half years for a crime I didn't commit. And on December 20th of last year, the governor freed me. And then this opportunity came along, and I am so honored, but I'll get right to it. So we've got lots to listen to. And I already know my story. This is called Killing Me. Betty turned her face toward me, took a deep breath, and began. Ron's blood spread around me, she whispered. I fell to my knees on the floor beside him. The day before, just one day before, we had dined at our favorite barbecue joint, had enjoyed each other, truly enjoyed. He loved ribs. I loved him. She paused, but the nervous movement of her hands told me how difficult this was for her. She wiped away her tears with a wad of rough state-issue toilet paper, repeatedly tucked her hair behind an ear, adjusted and readjusted her state-issue khakis, wrung her hands, and wiped her tears away again. I waited for her to continue. If we weren't in prison, I would have crossed the room to sit next to her. But two on the same bunk is considered as sexual in prison, and possibly a trip to the hole for at least 10 days. Even with the door closed, conversations in the hall echoed loudly. So I leaned toward her to hear. It was rare for us to find ourselves alone in this small cell that sadly resembles a junkyard. No, more like a basement bedroom in a cable TV episode of Hoarders with a barred window. Close quarters make congeniality difficult. If a top bunk girl steps down while the woman in the bunk below is also in the process of getting out of her bunk, injuries and flaring tempers are guaranteed. I've been in prison for nearly 4 decades, and this was far from the first confession I've ever heard. Everyone knows I would never betray a confidence, but Betty had always been tight-lipped. She had never before talked about what brought her to prison, even though we'd known each other for more than a decade. I had assumed she had been convicted of murder. You don't get 30 years for possession. I know. I got 50 years for killing my husband. The difference between Betty and me, I didn't do it. Betty was pushing 60. Her dark hair did not betray her age, and I could tell that she'd been beautiful. She still was. Her big brown eyes were sharp and her skin smooth. She reminded me of a plumper version of Lena Horne. As they say in prison, black don't crack. She and Ron had been married and divorced when they met at the St. Louis Ford plant in the early 90s, where she worked as a welder for decades. He was a floor supervisor. Their kids all had families of their own. They both owned their own homes, so neither were looking for a caregiver or financial stability, a nurse or a purse. But Betty and Ron had one major problem. They were both alcoholics. Day room's closed. Go to your cells. Get ready for count. A man's voice squawked over the PA system. The announcement caused our other 4 cellmates to rush back into our cell from their day room card game. These small cells were designed for 4 people. But the business of prison is booming, so we are on top of each other, literally. Between the 6 bunks, the stand-up lockers, the foot lockers, and everyone's stuff piled on every surface, including the floor, draped over every chair, and hanging from every locker hook, 6 is claustrophobic confinement. The stench has become a major player on its own, adding to the dumpster-like closeness because 2 of our most recent additions, short-time druggies, exhibit subpar hygiene. Our cell reeks of unwashed plastic bowls, days-old, cold, wet ramen soup, nasty crotch, aged urine, soured bedding, crusty feet, and blood-soaked sanitary napkins. Evidently, not all mothers are as demanding about cleanliness as mine. It isn't easy to keep an old farmhouse neat and practically spotless, but my mom demanded it in her good-natured way. But then again, not all these girls had mothers. I lived with a fat, pimply, poorly tattooed kid I called Pork Chop because she was always hungry. She'd been raised by her meth-cooked dad in a rusty trailer hidden deep in a brushy Ozark woods. When she returned to our cell after a quick shower, I remarked that she must have left her washcloth. Pork Chop smiled that she never used a washcloth. So I preached the gospel about folds down there and how scrubbing those parts would feel good. After her next shower, she returned to the cell as a grinning convert to washcloths. Maybe I can get these cellies to clean up like pork chop. Betty and I will be forced to call a come to Jesus room meeting later today to initiate a decontamination. As the only adults in the cell, we've joined forces before, but not right now. Betty sunk into her bunk in silence while the 4 young gamblers prattled on to me, talking over each other about who just went to the hole for a fight, what's for chow, who found a roach in their breakfast grits, who just rolled back to prison and why, and who has what drugs. Betty wouldn't talk about anything that's private in front of the others. Gossip is the lifeblood of prison. As I half listened to these fools, I looked at Betty, and my mind wandered to other women throughout my many years inside who had told me about the years of violent, irrational, and unwanted abuse they had survived. Few prisoners have escaped cruelty at the hands of a supposed loved one. That's all I'm going to read. You'll have to buy the book.
Thank you, Patty. That was a great cliffhanger, and I hope everybody will read the rest in the issue because it's a fantastic essay. Thank you for kicking us off. All right. Beautiful. And welcome home. My God, what a story. Thank you for your wisdom and your energy and for being here and for your writing, of course. The next person I get to introduce is a friend, though I haven't written back to his email. So Janice, you gotta spread the word that it's coming. But it's my absolute pleasure to get to introduce Justin Rovillos Monson, a poet whose career I've been following for many years, was a fellow under a program I ran at a former job, and I watched his manuscript evolve to become American Inmate, which was published on Haymarket Books a few years ago, and has been doing pretty amazingly in the world. So my pride is just beaming off me. Justin, wish you were here. Really happy to share your voice. And yes,
nice
Janice.
To say something. Justin actually just called me, and he would like to say hello to everybody.
Oh, hey, Justin! Perfect. Perfect.
I just have him on my phone.
That works.
Can you hear
Justin, I owe you an email. That's what I told everyone. I'm so happy you're here.
Well, actually, I owe you. So I will be getting to that soon. I've just been busy with school and stuff. But how are you? Everything good?
Everything's great. We're chatting in a room full of 30 people plus, so 40-something people. So is there anything you want to say to them? Because you and I will have our own catch-up.
I just want to say thank you. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for showing up. The poem that you're about to hear in the recording was a piece of work that my wife and we were doing like a correspondence type of thing back and forth via poetry. So that was a product of that. So enjoy, please.
Thanks, Justin. And who's the wife? It happens to be this poet right on the screen here, Janice. So Janice, do the honors of playing this beautiful poem. And Justin, I'm so glad I got to have to hear your voice personally, and that everybody else did as well live.
Yes, Eddie will do it. Thanks, Eddie.
One second, sorry.
This is Justin Rovillos Monson reading Stillness Behind Me Freestyle, featuring Patrick Rosal, Cameron, and Aracelis Germain. I wish I could show you how I came to this daily trading post, where I hitched my tired horse and palm the bright yet unripe fruits like a man who knows, with the precision of a surgeon, how to tell which small bodies of sweet flesh are ready to be opened and devoured in the harsh winds of this Michigan winter. I wish I could show you how the soft animals of my hands cradle this cup of black coffee on this mountainside cafe, and how I have lopped off enough of my heart to be able to write things like, I don't know how to move without a twist of that bright death, and I haven't yet learned to be lonely. because that's what this poem was supposed to be about. But listen, there are rough histories stacked on my tongue, balanced like books in your home library, waiting to exhale from this mud muscle throbbing beneath my going bones. Excuse my foreplay, just a little two-step to the baseline of my heart-tangled grammar. Sometimes a poem is just what comes between bridges. Sometimes love is an animal with four wings and a tree in every country to call home. Let me run that back. The map could be lost in the graveyard of nations, and still, the trees. Sometimes home is the body you love most, the shelter in which you stoke fire and paint the walls with your fingertips. Tell me why I say your name as I am building the houses of the city in this poem. Each house a memory, half trash, half hallelujah. Each season a psalm that leads me back to you. Love was Pretty Rickey on rotation in the cold magic of the homie's basement. Some girl from my geometry class, slow grinding against me until the next cut brought the bounce. Love was once a packet of hieroglyphs compressed into the general info section of the multi-windowed instant messenger. A free 99 ringtone and a relationship status update. We faded and transformed, and in those days it was always spring and I was mostly made of knives. I rolled 22 deep, and love was a weekend house party with afternoon comments. Baby, I gotta tell you the real. Love was once a pan full of chicken wings. Mama was making a midnight meal for her man. Love was summer badness and a cigarette in the driveway before the night closed, the door on its bad self, and a trillion crickets made music in the galactic darkness. Me shutting the door so softly on my 98 Grand Prix, all red and American. What is the sound of fog as it pours over your hometown? Mahal. What is the word the moon says? Mahal. Sweetheart, I think you can find love in so many things. A flower matched with shoes, a porch light left on to bring the spirits home, even a name. I don't know where my name comes from, but my brother carries the name of my Lolo's father. Domingo became Dominic, and my family is full of new beginnings. Will you come over to my side and open yourself to this immigrant opus, this heavenly rhythm, this cup runneth over? Whatever is mine is now yours, ours. Sometimes love is an empty city carved into the many children of a mountain range, hidden tunnels and crafted paths. What if we came together and discovered a country and called it ours? What if we found that our homeland was always there? That is what people mean when they say love is a language. You go looking for a place to rest your head, and you find a search party that crowns you proper. Hail the love we found in the rough. Hail the body in its willing badlands. Hail the good girl with her darkest dreams. Hail the bank of broken hearts in this mountainside city, the ones I left and the getaway driver who drove me straight to you. I skipped the fall before. I wanted a forever cuffin season. I want the soundtrack to always be an orchestra of leaves rustling and shedding their green jackets, strong coffee and gifted mugs. You could be 3 hours behind and I would slow down the earth till you came. Sometimes mountains are just hills that rise between lush valleys, and baby, let me tell you a secret. I've been planting seeds. Put your hands on my chest. The landscape is ours now, and I've sired a stillness in the hidden fields. When you open the door, and I am at last coming home, you can gaze behind me at the city we built, and know, with your whole heart, that I've come a long, long way, and now, all I need is you.
My God. My God. Y'all can't see this. Justin, you definitely can't see this, and the folks in the room, y'all might not be able to see my chat, but I've been chatting up with the other panelists like crazy. The first thing that I said is, you better come on, poet. Just amazing, amazing. I have the honor and the privilege of introducing our next performer. Coming up next is Lola Carino. Lola, I'm hoping that I'm pronouncing your last name correctly.
Yes,
Lola,
you are.
awesome, awesome sauce. Lola will be reading on behalf of Miss Kwaneta Harris. Kwaneta Harris's essay, The Family We Make, takes readers, I think, on a gripping journey of isolation, connection, defiance, and reclamation. I hope you all enjoy this excerpt. Lola, please.
Hi, I'm Lola. Eddie's going to be playing it, but I met Kwaneta about 2 years ago, volunteering for an organization called Empowerment Avenue, which connects volunteers with incarcerated writers and artists. And I just became friends with her instantly. She's a former nurse and mother of three, an advocate for women behind bars, and frankly, a mother to anyone she meets, as you will see in this piece. So, this is the family we make.
This is V reading on behalf of Kwaneta Harris. Kwaneta Harris, the family we make. When they first locked me away, the hardest part wasn't the concrete walls or the fluorescent lights that never fully dimmed. It wasn't even the dehumanizing rituals of strip searches or the constant surveillance. It was the severing, clean and cruel, from everyone I called family. My mother's voice, reduced to 20-minute increments. My children's milestones, diminished to photographs that arrived weeks after the moment had passed. The state didn't just imprison my body. It held my heart hostage, too. Family visitation is a privilege, not a right, said the orientation officer, her voice flat as the gray wall surrounding us. I remember how strange it was to call love a privilege. To classify human connection as something that could be awarded or revoked based on behavior, like we were children rather than adults trying to maintain the most basic human bonds. A few years into my half-century sentence, I understand something I couldn't have known that first day. Family isn't static. It doesn't obey the rigid definitions the system tries to impose upon it. In here, family expands, contracts, and transforms in ways that defy the very structures designed to control it. The families we lose. The carceral system is built on family separation. Its architecture, both physical and bureaucratic, is designed to isolate. Prisons are often constructed in remote locations, making visits logistically challenging and financially prohibitive for many families already struggling under the weight of having an incarcerated loved one. I remember the day my cousin finally saved enough for the 18-hour drive to see me, only to be turned away because her driver's license had expired 2 days earlier. I watched through the thick glass as she argued with the guard, her voice rising in frustration. "She's my cousin," she kept saying, as if that should matter. I pressed my palm against the window, feeling the cold seep through my fingers, knowing she couldn't see me from where she stood. The disappointment hit me like a physical blow, not just for myself, but watching her shoulders slump as she walked back to her car. I spent the rest of that day in my bunk, staring at the ceiling, wondering if she'd ever try to come back. She didn't. The rules change without warning. Visiting hours are cut, phone calls become more expensive, letters are rejected for arbitrary reasons. Each obstacle is painted as a security measure, but the cumulative effect is a slow erosion of family bonds. Some women haven't had a visitor in years, not because no one loves them, but because the system has made maintaining those connections nearly impossible. For many, biological families gradually disappear. Maybe they couldn't afford the $100 deposit for the phone account and another $100 for the commissary account to purchase hygiene items, money crucial to our survival. Money we need our loved ones to provide because in Texas, we were forced to work unpaid. Maybe they couldn't keep taking time off from work for visits that might be canceled without notice. Maybe the shame and stigma became too heavy to bear. Whatever the reason, their absence leaves wounds that never fully heal. The families we find. Nature abhors a vacuum, and humans need connection to survive. In the void left by severed family ties, new forms of family emerge. My first prison mother was Mama Esther, a lifer who had been down for 33 years by the time I arrived. I'll never forget the morning she found me sitting on my bunk, staring at a letter from my lawyer about a failed appeal. I hadn't eaten in 2 days, couldn't bring myself to leave my cell. "Child, come here," she said, her voice gentle but firm. She led me to her small table where she'd somehow managed to make hot coffee using her rigged teapot. As she poured the steaming liquid into a plastic cup, she told me, "The system wants you to give up. That's when they win." I took a sip and felt warmth spread through my chest, the first comfort I'd experienced in months. "Blood makes you related," Mama Esther told me. "Love makes you family." Sitting there in that cramped space, surrounded by concrete and steel, I felt something I hadn't felt since my arrest. Belonging. The prison administration discourages these bonds. We're not allowed to share snacks, hygiene items, books, magazines. We can be transferred to different facilities without warning. Close friendships are viewed with suspicion, often labeled as security concerns. Still, we find ways to care for each other. When Morgan came in, 17 and terrified, we all took turns checking on her. I helped her sign up for GED classes. Robin gave her an extra blanket. Tamika gave her the talk, our whisper network of predatory staff to avoid. Nia showed her photos of her baby, just to make her smile. None of us knew each other before, but together we became something like the aunts and big sisters she needed. These bonds aren't sentimental, they're survival. When Michelle, a young black woman, had a seizure in the bathroom and the officers took over 20 minutes to respond, it was Dana, with a swastika tattooed on her neck, who put her in the recovery position. It was Dana who stayed with her, talking softly and stroking her hair until help arrived. When Toya couldn't afford soap for 3 months because she spent her commissary money on a phone call to her daughter on her birthday, it was the women on the block who shared what they really couldn't spare, without question or expectation. The families we create. Prison tries to flatten us into identical inmates, but inside these confining walls, we have built complex networks of care. There are prison marriages, just as intimate and beloved as across the fence. Deep platonic partnerships exist, where two people commit to looking out for each other through their sentences. There are also prison families with clearly defined roles. Mothers who nurture, big sisters who protect, aunties who teach skills, cousins who keep everyone laughing. With almost 2 decades in, I have the honor of continuing this caretaking practice. My moniker is Mama Detroit. I remember when I was braiding Crystal's hair in our usual spot by the window when she started crying. Her daughter had gotten engaged, and Crystal wouldn't be there to help plan the wedding. 23 years I've been gone, she whispered, her voice breaking. She doesn't even remember what I look like without this uniform. I kept working on her braids, my hands steady even though my heart was breaking for her. Tell me about the dress, I said, trying to redirect her towards something beautiful. As she talked about white lace and tiny pearls, her breathing slowed, and I felt her shoulders relax under my hands. In that moment, with the afternoon sun streaming through the barred windows and my fingers moving through her graying hair, I understood something profound. This was family too. Not the family I'd lost, not the family I remembered, but the family I'd chosen and been chosen by. The kind of family that holds you together when everything else falls apart. My prison family doesn't replace my biological family, but it exists alongside it, equally real and in many ways equally necessary. We celebrate birthdays with makeshift cakes crafted from commissary items. We mourn losses together, creating memorial rituals when one of us receives news of a death on the outside. We fight and reconcile, hold grudges, and forgive just like any family. When Keisha finally passed her GED test after several failed attempts, the dorm family threw her a graduation ceremony using a toilet paper roll as a diploma. It sounds silly from the outside, but in that moment it was everything. When Serena was denied parole for the 13th time, we collected our most precious possessions, a photo, a book, a small drawing, and brought them to her cell so she wouldn't be alone with her despair. The families we form inside aren't just about survival. They're about creating spaces where we can still be fully human, where we can practice the giving and receiving of care that makes life meaningful. In a system designed to isolate us, forming family becomes a form of resistance. I've come to understand that the state's addiction to family separation has never been about public safety or justice. From the stealing of indigenous children for boarding schools, to the auction blocks that tore apart enslaved families, from ICE raids to prison visiting rooms, the severing of family bonds has always been about power and control. It has always been about breaking the spirit by attacking the heart's most vital reason to beat. But what the system fails to understand is that family, true family, cannot be contained by rules and regulations. It cannot be scheduled into visiting hours or limited to approved contact lists. Family is what we create in the spaces between official policies. It lives in the small acts of care, a shared commissary item, a hand on the shoulder during bad news, the silent understanding between people who see each other's full humanity in a place designed to strip it away. As my first parole date nears, I carry this knowledge with me. Family is not defined by blood or law or the state's recognition. Family is defined by who shows up, who stays, who sees you at your worst, and still chooses you. Family is who you protect and who protects you. Family transcends concrete and steel, paperwork and policies. The system may be addicted to separation, but we are equally committed to connection. Every bond we form, whether inside these walls or reaching beyond them, is a triumph. Every family we create or maintain or reimagine is proof that even here, especially here, love finds a way. And that, perhaps, is the most revolutionary act of all.
Wow. Thank you so much, Kwaneta. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Our next reading is going to be a piece written by Rickey, Cummings, and Teddrick Batiste. It's called A Conversation in Caits. This conversation between two men evidences the brotherhood, the profound brotherhood that can be created despite, I think, the most crushing and harrowing of conditions. So yes, please, Lindsay, will you introduce this for us?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Nicole and Caits, thank you so much. And Britt and everyone at the Mass Review, we're really grateful. Rickey's on the line, so I'm just going to pass it to him to say hi. And I know Teddrick is also listening in. So Teddrick, if you can hear us, we're sending you a lot of love as well. Rickey, you want to say hi? Can you hear me, friend? I'm not getting him right now. Maybe we go ahead and start the piece that's recorded, and I'll try to get him up on the line so he could say hi after.
Peace. My name is Rickey Cummings, and I want to thank you all for holding space for Teddrick and I to share our thoughts and ideas. In November of 2024, we discussed our desire to produce a project where we will bolster our journeys towards healing and hopes and transformative seeds that will spark growth beyond the barriers that poverty, poor guidance, neglect, and trauma have placed on the minds, ears, and hearts of the youth who are deemed at risk. Before we can go outside to discuss things further, the unit went on lockdown, which lasted 52 days. That's 52 days straight in a small cage for 24 hours. Not to be deterred by the lockdown, we exchanged ideas and questions in the series of Caits. To share a bit about Teddrick and I, I'm a father, son, an activist, and a creator, author of Holding Visual, and a contributor to several projects like Open Letters with Mark Menjivar. I've been in solitary confinement on Texas death row for going on 13 years now. Teddrick has been here a little bit longer than myself, but he too is a father as well as a son and an author and an artist. You can find some of his works on all platforms under Ocean Deep, including his book that was recently released called Ocean Deep, which is a collective of his poems. So I'll be reading from page 353. Bro, I've seen your growth. In fact, we started our journeys around the same time, leaning on each other for strength and counsel when needed. In your own words, what would you say your level of empathy was when you got here compared to where it is now? On some real shit, bro, I don't think I had a real concept of what empathy meant when I was free. At least not when it came to people outside of family and my circle. I mean, I felt compassion for the elderly and was moved when I saw women and kids struggling or being abused. I'd even give a few dollars to the homeless, but that was the extent of my feelings for people I deemed to be outsiders. Coming from where we are from, we're taught to keep our feelings on our feet and not to concern ourselves with things that do not directly affect or threaten us or ours. This way of thinking and being was taught to me directly and indirectly. For example, when I was around 11 years old, a guy from the neighborhood was murdered while attempting to break up a fight between a man and his girlfriend. In my mind, he did the right thing, being that I had been jumping into my queen's domestic disputes for as long as I could remember. Everyone knew what happened. Witnesses had seen what went down, but the woman ended up testifying that the guy was the aggressor and her boyfriend acted in self-defense. That in itself taught me a lesson, but it was the conversation I overheard my old heads have that stuck with me throughout my early adulthood. It was a little after the trial when I heard one of them say, see, his dumb ass should have minded his business because now he's dead and that hoe still fucking with that nigga. There was no empathy in their tones or words, no shared grief or compassion, or conversations about their feelings. No words and actions in my formative years taught me that the only emotion that was acceptable was anger. Today, though, I am an empath. After I attained KOS, knowledge of self, I became aware of our interconnectedness as humans, which in turn caused me to feel one's suffering, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, on a level that sometimes feels strange to me. It's like a person around me don't even have to verbally express what's going on. I can feel a shift of energy in the environment and within itself to the point that my peace will be disturbed until I do or say something that will help bring that person back into harmony. It took my doing the work to break through my emotional bondage for me to become attuned with others' emotional state.
Say, bro,
This word empathy has stuck with me a long time. Remember I told you as a kid I grew up going to those AA and AA meetings with my mama's boyfriend? Bro, I saw, heard, and felt some shit that challenged me today. I saw people with real issues, levels of pain that tore them and everything they had apart. I don't know a moment that I never didn't feel sorry for the next person. I was always the one hopping in the middle to end disputes, sticking up to do my best to avoid the conflict. Even in my sports events, I was the one to be the peacekeeper. If we were cheated or done wrong, I always felt like it was on me to make a difference, to take it over. Around the year in 2003, I was in TYC, the prison system for juveniles. They evaluate you. And I remember this old, out-of-touch white guy, he asked me, what does it make me feel like to sell drugs or steal people's cars? I told him, I don't think about it because it made me feel bad, and I didn't want anyone stealing my mama's car. He then turned in his report, and I was able to read what he said. Then I had no empathy. Something about that word has dug deep into my soul. In as juveniles, we have objectives, and one was to learn about the word empathy. It's basically the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes. I thought I always do that, and from that point on, it kind of made me the protector in a way. Weird, but I was always the go-to guy, and if I didn't have the results, I knew where to search. This the fucked up part, bro. That same guy testified in my trial in 2011. I know for a fact that he know what he was doing, but he got on the stand and gave the same people that's supposed to be my peers a childhood image of me, and told the people of the court that I had no empathy as a kid, and I most likely didn't have any now as a man. That shit broke me down. Next question. How do you, as a man, get past what culture has taught you? This is my answer. I don't know if there's a universal answer or method to doing so. But for me, it took staring at a metaphorical mirror and being honest with myself. I'm really honest. It took reflecting on my life and analyzing the people who grew me, as well as the characteristics I had developed because of them and the environment, the culture I was raised in. I had to ask myself, in what ways have I, those who grew me and the culture benefited my life, the life of my loved ones, and the people in my community? All the lessons I let guide me, the characteristics I reflect, and the mindset I have conducive to the lifestyle I envision for myself and those I hope to help. I had to be brave enough to trim my edges by letting go of the things and people I felt were and are a detriment to myself in the future I desire, regardless of how hard it may be. And trust me, the process isn't easy. I'm still working at it because some strongholds, which can be people, things, and characteristics, are deeply rooted. At the end of the day, I realize that if I'm really serious about shedding my old skin, I have to be willing to let go of all things that will hinder my transformation. You know, we stand on this same kind of shit. That's what we hold each other accountable. Personally, it's very simple. I treat people how I want to be treated. I want to be treated very well, no matter what I'm going through, what's on my mind. I love being loved and valued, appreciated, and I love that same kind of energy around me. That's why I can't stay upset for longer than 10 minutes. Shit just don't matter. It's also my son, bro. He dealt with his fair share of pain ocean deep. So I just stand on positivity and know the pros and cons of all my actions. Don't you fuck me up. Now that I know better, I'm not gonna fuck nobody that crossed my path the same way it fucked me. It don't matter what level I'm on. I love myself and what I'm able to give off. Culture don't know the pros and the cons deep enough to teach us that we are going to hurt until we learn how to be productive in better ways. I read that Francis Bacon said it deeply, the mold of a man's fortune is in his own hands. Bro, I ain't learned the ability from culture, but now I know.
I have Rickey on now. Rickey, do you want to say hi?
Yes, sorry about it earlier. Having the wouldn't allow me to turn the mic on. I'll be brief because I literally only have 1 minute left for this phone call. So I want to thank you all for sharing space and allowing me and Jesse to share our words, as I said in the recording. As you can hear from the audio, it was kind of rough in terms of because of the equipment that they allowed us to have. Anyway, to share a bit about the piece itself, the title, The Conversation in Caits, anyone who has been in prison before will tell you they know that the letters that we exchange with one another, that's what we refer to as Caits. And because of the way him and I was housed, you have 1 minute left. Him being downstairs, in order for us to continue the project and allow our creative energy to flow, we had to send a line over the run, which is a braided shoestring connected to a rolled up magazine paper. And if that's the way we exchanged our thoughts and ideas and the questions with one another, that's how the title Conversation in Caits came into play. But again, I want to thank you all for holding space for us. You know, Mark for helping us with the recording, and Lindsay for helping us facilitate things with the editors. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Rickey. I don't know if you're still there for the last couple seconds, but wow, this piece between you and Teddrick, for me, feels like it should be required reading for every young man in this country. Really love your vulnerability, your connection, and really appreciate that we got to hear the process and be painted that visual by you. So
thank you for using Securus. Goodbye.
There we go. Bye, Rickey. Wow. Whew. I could just sit in all of your work. It's a really amazing night. We have 3 folks left. It is my pleasure to get to introduce the next poet, Demetrius "Meech" Buckley. I've been following Meech's career for quite some time. I'm a fan. I remember when Meech won the Cave Canem chapbook prize, and I was like, I know this poet. I was so excited about it. So it's really an honor to get to publish his work. We've never met, but obviously I'm sending all of my support and regards, and I'm really happy we get to have Emily Nonko here, who is a friend who helped facilitate this connection. So Emily, I will let you come share a little more, if you would.
Sure. Yeah, I'm honored to be here, and I'm honored to introduce this recording I did with Meech of 2 of his poems. Take this poem as a gift you may never get to open, and stay away from the light. Meech's work really speaks for itself. I'll just say in the 5 years we've worked together, his language has always completely electrified me, and he's someone who looks at his words and poetry as a sense of building family, as being a father, and loving people in his life. So it's an honor to support him and introduce these poems. Thanks.
All right, take this poem as a gift you may never get to open. If I tell you what I'm really saying, what I am trying to articulate about curses that looks cursive, that looks right at you, lit under moonlight ablaze on an open smolder, with elders in every ashtray. If you sob down into a brown mother's cleavage, free of the softest tissue, free of the darkest spaces where women laugh, where pantyhose are pulled above thigh, belly glisten, jail, broken stretches of marks, miles away from home. Would you bow your head and pray with me under a round of gunfire? Wait to be answered by slug, a bullet mark. Would you forgive most of what happened to you and fashion it into a centerpiece? Gently place it on the mantle and show your remaining audience. What if we have never redeemed a broken treaty of brotherhood, field exhibiting cosmos between countrymen, no companionship, no love? Please, listen, people. Don't shake the brown box or press ear to the beautiful tapestry. I am giving you this poem like a bomb is given to a third world country. Do not peek between the wrapper, the skin complexion. It's all the same beauty ordained in the eye of the beholder. The crack sounding of plugging eye. It's the eye for an eye. I I am offering this gift to you from above as priest offers the bread on the first Sunday. Take thy flesh of syllable and newspaper reporting mass casualty. And it reads, I am giving you this poem, how walls and wires and unlawful justice gives trauma to an imprisoned man on some coast. Fuck the cargo. Fuck the lethargic cum of a juicy fruit. Fuck the supremacy of a system that crack up like China porcelainware. Fuck it all. Alright, this is poem 2. Stay away from the light. The dance, the party, the underboogie, the stand in the shining light and hug the entirety is very possible. I could make an entire room think about one organic sustenance by reciting a quote and substitute it into the conscious mind. I have been affected by the flow of fluorescence. You say, baby, I require connection, and it can't possibly get any worse than one night of cursing. I searched with the cursor and found animals grazing on their own lawns. I found owls breaking their necks to watch me from afar. I found that we let TV's handscreens do the larger babysitting, watching us from up close. How few people you know will come across a poem like a raging river and drown in it, find their body floating in the middle of a paragraph. How few people you know will remember a name that can make our planet vanish off its axis. Say it. Find nothing inside of everything. One day a blind man showed me the way by simply telling me to chill. And just like that, we ended up in February.
Yeah, I think electrified is the right word, Emily. Thank you. Such a treat also to get to hear people reading the poems on the page. It's one experience that's beautiful, but really hearing it embodied uh, moved me really deeply. What a great voice, too. Please pass that along from me. Um, our next and final poet of the evening is someone I have wanted to see in person for a long time, so I'll take the Zoom screen, even if I can't do it in person. You've already met her, Janice Sapigao. Please correct me if I've mispronounced your name. I have. I've mispronounced. Oh, I didn't. Okay, you can also come on now. Janice not only facilitated Justin's poem coming in, as you now know, they are married, and the poems came in together. So what I really love about, I mean, I love your poems separately, Janice, but what I love about them being in community is obviously we get both sides of the love story from both sides of the wall, and they're just gorgeous poems. So I'm so excited to hear you read it.
Ooh, thanks, Kate. Hi, everyone. I'm so nervous. Okay, I have a little intro. I do want to say, yeah, my husband Justin and we just got married in June, and this Saturday will be our 6 months. And the poems that we shared and sent in for Massachusetts review were love letters. And I guess I want to say a couple of things. I've learned I work with the SE Justice Group here in Oakland and Los Angeles, California. And it's through that sisterhood I have learned and received, like, I've learned a lot and I've received so much support. I learned that I'm not alone, that 1 in 4 women and that 1 in 2 Black women have an incarcerated loved one. And that many women with incarcerated loved ones experience loneliness, mental health issues, and yet women are also the financial, emotional, and reentry support systems in this country. And the ways that Justin and I have been able to support each other are through writing and poems and correspondence and phone calls. And the exchange of our words has built our love and built our deep connection. And so in the poem I'm going to read and the poem that Justin read, we would sample lines from music, mostly hip hop artists, and other and each other. So you'll hear some of the lines that Justin read, I think, in my poem. And also in practicing for today's reading, I want you to know that I feel very shy to read these poems to everybody. Yet I still feel so in love and so steadfast in the fact that in this poem, that's so much about me traveling from California to visit him in Michigan. I have so much hope and imagination for the day he comes home to me and our family, who are also in attendance today here on Zoom. So just a quick shout out. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dom. Hi, Bella. And Elia, Justin's niece, new niece. So, Caits, you and Justin have a lot to talk about. Okay, so here's the poem that makes me feel very shy. I'm going to read it as if I'm just reading it to myself and maybe to Justin. Okay, this poem is called Daylight Radio, featuring Harry Styles and Outkast and UGK, Lauryn Hill, Joss Stone, Common, Eric Benet, and Tamia. Okay. If I was a bluebird, and I don't mean 140 characters sent on a digital line, I don't mean a small sadness sitting by the window while minutes drip down from unseen clouds, or a warbler carrying the sky on its back. I mean, I would fly to you, slip between cerulean and indigo, navigate aerial terrains of aqua and lapis lazuli. I'd send my blues away, use them to engineer a next meal from a route headed east. I'd CC every girl round town. I'd be the spoon. I'd dip you in honey in a land of lakes where inside me is the depth for you to practice magic, turning water into a syrup-scented sip. Baby, can I compete with your morning coffee? My brew clapping an audience of energy into your heart. I heard someone order a Gibraltar at a coffee cart the other day. It's espresso cupped by its bottom in a glass, held there. I mean, it was suspended, waiting to be imbibed. Careful lips in delicate perch. Can I keep you up for days? Can we share sweet things? We can find out why 6 side-by-side shots are called a flight. I want to text all my friends, saying that I chose this cutie pie with whom I want to be. My favorite dessert, the truth and not a fable. I would kiss you anywhere. At the visitor center, in Dearborn with the Hirazi latte in hand, at Leo's Coney Island over breakfast with friends and fam in the booth, the parking lot at Mel's Grill, at the Pistons game where they take another sad L. I can lessen the space between our lips and state lines. I would absolutely stare at stick trees and miles of yellowed grass and be misled by dirt roads in rural towns to climb towards you. I would again hope to travel along flat lines, dotted by billboards with Bible verses and tractors just to hold your hand. You can be high noon, I can be midnights, lyrics over a beatbox, my joy and my dream. I never knew a day could come. You remind me of the divine to warm the lonely nights, the years rolling by. I would fly or drive, would take a train, learn to trust snow, which is to say, I'd come for you. If I needed a cure for the blues, could you be the daylight, like the bright orange sun the size of Detroit's shoreline? If you ask me, I'd say yes, knowing that on the other spin of its ochre is you. Thank you.
I mean, every damn word. Oh, thank you for not, thank you for reading despite feeling so shy. That was incredible. Thank you so much. All right, y'all, we have the last reading of the evening, and it is going to be of Jackson Herring's Shipped. When I tell you that this voice stopped me in my tracks, I would love for Diane Herring, Jackson's mother, who I corresponded with in order to get this piece into the issue in the world, to introduce it. Go ahead, Diane.
Hi, can you hear me?
We sure can.
Okay. Well, Jackson kind of just started writing about a year ago, and this was one of his first things that he had sent in. And he wrote it about an experience that he had, changed some of the names and incidents a little bit with it, but it's kind of an experience he had in prison. And he's recorded it. We've recorded it for you to play.
Jackson's on them.
And Jackson's watching right here. He might. Do you want to say something, Jackson? I don't know if anyone can hear you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm super honored to be part of this, and I love all the writing. Thanks, everyone.
Yes, the writing's been awesome. Listening to all of it.
Hi, my name is Jackson Herring. This is a story I wrote called Shipped. Bang, bang. Electronic deadbolts retract unannounced at 11 p.m. Woken from sound sleep, now tense, upright on my metal bunk. Harsh light invades, the heavy steel door slams open. Harrison, roll your shit up, you're going to Laramie. I rub bleary eyes, the guard hands me a cardboard box. My cellmate is upset. I owe him $20 of commissary food, the price for trusting a pair of jacks during the weekly Texas Hold'em tournament. A post-canteen ritual, the best time to win big while people still have cash, food to burn. Final two, bleeding chips, I had to go all in. Notched by tripped ducks, 3 2s. Lost the whole enchilada, $100 pot. My cellie fronted me the buy-in. I promised to pay him back. Oh well, nothing to be done now. I knew you'd burn me on that 20, grumbles my soon-to-be former roommate. Woodrow, called Woody by his friends, is a sleeved-out shot caller, an aging founder of a major prison gang from Idaho. He is not a man to be fucked with and has bailed me out of more jams than I care to remember. I guess I'll have to go in debt to pay for your gambling habit. It'll cause a car wreck with the Southsiders if I don't. I feel like an asshole, but I'm completely helpless to rectify the situation. Woody had my back on a rather sketchy cell block, watching over me for many months after I was kicked off the low security yard for refusing a piss test. A chance for parole, education, sunshine, and what did I do with it? Got high, allegedly. Packing takes little time. My worldly possessions are limited to a few books, ratty socks, stained t-shirts, and a pocket radio with dead batteries. I examined one of the novels sent in by a thoughtful relative back when they still had hope for me. Here, take this. It's pretty good. You'll like it. I hand Woody my copy of Lonesome Dove, as good a parting gift as any, I suppose. An angry grunt from the old man tells me my sins are not forgiven. I will miss our frequent debates about the finer points of English literature. Yo, Jake, a muffled voice yells through the port hatch of cell 11. You getting shit, Tommy? It's 220, a friend and sometimes enemy, so named for the number of years on his sentence. Double homicide caught at the Mexican border. Nice dude. Crazy though. Once threatened to put my eye out for accidentally pinching his thumb while lifting weights. Yeah, bro, I reply. Some final advice. Laramie ain't bad, just more politicking. Watch who you kick it with. You'll be fine. Tell Sean Boy I said what's up when you see him. One last look in the polished metal mirror before I go. I hardly recognize my own blue eyes blazing out searchlights from an unfamiliar ghoulish face. Leaving Highside Unit 1 under escort, a pale moon illuminates falling snow on this cold winter night. My mind floods with an emotional witch's brew of guilt, relief, excitement, and terror. Not the first transport, nor the last, just the same damn movie, played on repeat, no beginning, no end. The sign says transportation, waiting, gazing at a giant map on the wall. Places I've been, places I may never go. Click, click, chains, cuffs. Let me know if this is too tight. Cold metal links bite into my stomach, my rib cage. Our chariot awaits, white Ford van, the dog kennel. Inside, sloping walls of a cage force me to lean forward, balancing on the edge of a steel bench. Can't see, windows blackened out by fine wire mesh. Down a bumpy dirt road, jostled like a rag doll. Endless hours pass. I try to sleep, wake up, bladder full, body aches. More hours go by. Brakes screech, thrown forward. Bang! Rear door opens, stepping out into blinding sunlight. I look around. Middle of nowhere, prairie, far as the eye can see. Fences, barbed wire. Our group is hustled inside a gray, drab structure. Parking garage, holding cell, more waiting. Idle chit-chat, speculation amongst the new arrivals. Classification, mugshot, new uniforms. Some get red, some get yellow. What's yellow mean? Closed custody, high side. Ah, hell. No surprise there. This life of a shit kid, a perpetual fuck-up, leads to the dungeons, not the honor dorm. A guy can dream, though, can't he? Harrison, you're going to J-Pod. Pushing a dolly down a long, bright hallway. The guard speaks into his radio. Central, open Juliet 105. Over the threshold, a large day room, 50 cells. 99 violent felons stop any activity and stare. All eyes on me. A first introduction. Yo, homie, you bang? Who you roll with? New cell, new celly. Here they come. Boxed in by 5 killers. A roving hit squad dressed in mustard khaki, sweatpants, sleeveless shirts. This never gets any easier. Got your paperwork? Digging in my box. Can't find it. Not good. Death glares, cracking knuckles. My hands start to shake. Where the fuck did I put that shit? I mutter under my breath, flashing a reassuring grin. Cold silence. Tough crowd. By now they probably think I'm a weirdo, stalling for time. Chomos and rapists always pretend to have lost the proof of their solid charges. Aha, there it is. A manila envelope, my jacket. The pink sheets never lie. Criminal history is thoroughly inspected. A slight smile. You fell out of Rock Springs. Me too. The verdict. He's good, got his PSI, checks out. Not a sex offender, not a rat. Handshakes, introductions. Now I am alone in the cell, my new home. Muscles ache, still twitching from adrenaline and the long ride. What a day. I slowly begin to unpack, moving with the deliberate sloth of a person coming out of a dream. The top bunk is mine. A steel toilet combined sink reflects yellow halogen light. All is hideous, familiar, reassuring. The cycle begins anew.
Whew. Thank you so much for your reading, Jackson. Thank you for putting your work into the world, and we can't wait to see more of it. I am stunned that you've only been writing for a year. I really can't wait to see other things come from you. All right, we are at the end of tonight's program, and we know we are running a bit over, so we want to spend the next few minutes asking our panelists to please share your closing comments with everyone here with us. And we're putting our panelists on the spot 100%. I would, while you're thinking about maybe some clothes. Yes, excellent, Patty.
I'd like to say I've been around a long time. I'm 76. I was locked up a long time. This is the first event like this I've ever been involved with. And I hope this is not the last. You guys are great, and this stuff needs to be out there. Every one of these pieces, I get it. I get them, but not everybody does, and everybody needs to know. So I'll stop talking.
Thank you so much, Patty. I feel like that's where we should end, maybe. I want to thank Caits and Nicole again for editing this beautiful special issue. I want to thank everyone here on Zoom, all of our contributors, our writers. I hope that you will pre-order the issue. We'll drop the link in the chat once more. And if you're watching the recording, you can just go to massreview.org. And I hope that you will all you will stay connected with us and continue to follow the writing and the art of our contributors to this issue. And thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for putting it together.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. It was
Thanks,
great.
everybody.